conglomeration of American Marines from all races and walks of life make a desperate last stand in the frozen mountains of North Korea. Now that should be a movie. Hello, and thank you for watching today's episode of That Should Be a Movie. Today's book I'd like to pitch as a movie is The Last Stand of Fox Company, a true story of U.S. Marines in combat. In November 1950, in the first year of the U.S. involvement in the Forgotten War, then known as the Police Action in Korea, General Douglas MacArthur has almost driven the North Korean army completely out of the Korean peninsula, ignoring China's warnings not to approach the border. In response, the Chinese army sweeps down 100,000 men and quickly surrounds the 10,000 men of the 1st Division Marines near the Chew-Een Reservoir, horizontal to the grants of the frozen Chew-Een. In order to survive, the Marines must retreat to the Chew-Een Pass. This narrow gorge must be held at all costs, and the job is handed to the 234 Marines of Fox Company. Commanded by Captain William Barber, they hold the rocky promontory overlooking the pass for 5 nights and 4 days, fending off wave after wave of communist Chinese attacks from all sides. 3/4 of them become casualties before being relieved by a daring rescue column led by Lieutenant Colonel Raymond Davis. It's an exciting story that helped give birth to the famous Marine slogan, "Retreat Hell," when Major General Oliver Smith was asked if the withdrawal was a retreat. Retreat hell? We're just tacking in a different direction. Drury and Clavin do an excellent job of covering both the big picture of the political and military strategy in Korea, while also bringing out the intimate details of the ground war. They not only record the bitter fighting, sniping, selling, and grenade tossing between the Chinese and Americans, but also the bickering between headquarters and front lines, veteran officers, and by-the-book NCOs, sergeants, and privates. They make you feel the tension as the Americans can smell the approach of the Chinese army due to garlic on their breath from drinking tea to fight off colds, and hear the crunch of snow under sandals. They make you feel the bitter cold as the Marines can't dig foxholes due to the frozen ground, watch the milk on their cereal and even their spit freeze before it hits the ground, and the lives of some wounded men are saved when their blood stops flowing due to being frozen. There's a host of human and colorful characters. There's Sick Manelli from Hell's Kitchen, who once beat up a teacher for suggesting that he was descended from an ape. There's several Native Americans, including a Navajo, who particularly doesn't like the North Koreans because they keep mistaking them for one of them. There's a soldier with Dear John Letter. There's so many Hispanics with the name Gomez and Gonzalez that they all have nicknames. There are boys from Minnesota and Montana who lecture the California queers about the cold. There are World War II veterans, and there are teenagers and reservists who were inspired to join the Marines because of posters and World War II morale boosters based on the veterans. One of the most interesting characters is Lieutenant Jin-Hu Lee. The son of Chinese immigrants, Lieutenant Lee was known as a blister of a man with a chip on his shoulder, yet as a by-the-book Marine and competent fighter and leader. He was well aware of Americans' attitudes towards Chinese immigrants, and he once watched a white man humiliate his father by spraying with a water hose. His father drilled into his sons a determination not to wash anyone's shirts. And Lee, a fatalist, was determined to honor his family, his principles, and his country by dying in battle. As part of Davis's force sent to relieve Fox Company, he fully expected to die at Chew-Een Pass. Yet he carried out his duties proficiently, leading the Ridge Runners, the nickname given the Davis's battalion, over the frozen mountains of North Korea in the dark, despite an extra danger to himself, looking like the enemy. It is recorded that when a spooked Marine said that a gook had entered the withdrawal column, someone responded, "That's Lieutenant Lee. Try not to shoot him." I believe that Lieutenant Lee and all the Marines of Fox Company in the 1st Division, as well as all the U.S. military personnel veterans of the Korean War, should be honored with a movie. While several American movies were made in the 1950s-60s, none have entered the American constants like Saving Private Ryan, Platoon, or Black Hawk Down. This is ironic considering that the experience of U.S. military personnel in Korea has been so far overshadowed by other U.S. wars that has often been called the Forgotten War. I believe this injustice could be righted with a good movie about Fox Company, possibly directed by Ridley Scott, Miranda Wallace, Mel Gibson, Edward Zeke, or Steven Spielberg. Lest we forget the sacrifice of American men and women in the Korean War, is why I think The Last Stand of Fox Company by Bob Drury and Tom Clavin should be a movie. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and let us know in the comment section what book about the Korean War or some other forgotten conflict you think should be a movie.